Hello viewers and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be explaining the novel A Passage to India by E.M. Forster from a post-colonial theoretical framework. But before I go into detailed explanation, I would like to share a little bit about why I am making this video. Firstly, as a literature student, I feel like it's really important to preserve the literary works of all the writers, novelists, poets, and dramatists. Secondly, as a student, when I don't get the explanation inside the classroom, I jump into YouTube videos which are being prepared by various professors and lecturers. And by watching those videos, I can understand better and I can also clarify my doubts. And I am forever grateful to those people who take time to make this kind of videos. And last but not the least, I want my viewers, especially literature students, to benefit from this video because this particular novel, A Passage to India, is part of our syllabus in MA program under Nagaland University. Also, I have prepared a few slides which I'll be presenting in here, so stay tuned. Thank you. About the author. Edward Morgan Forster, OMCH, was an English novelist, short story writer, essayist, and librettist. Many of his novels examine class difference and hypocrisy, including A Room with a View, 1908, Howard's End, 1910, and A Passage to India, 1924. The last brought him his greatest success. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Literature in 16 different years. He was born on 1st January 1879 at London, United Kingdom, and died on 7th June 1970 at the age of 91. Overview. E.M. Forster's A Passage to India concerns the relations between the English and the native population of India during the colonial period in which Britain ruled India. The story evolves around four characters: Dr. Aziz, his British friend Mr. Cyril Fielding, Mrs. Moore, and Miss Adela Quested. During a trip to the fictitious Marabar Caves, Adela thinks she finds herself alone with Dr. Aziz in one of the caves and subsequently panics and flees. It is assumed that Dr. Aziz has attempted to assault her. Aziz's trial and its run-up and aftermath bring to a boil the common racial tensions and prejudices between Indians and the British who ruled India. Colonialism. On one level, A Passage to India is an in-depth description of daily life in India under British rule. The prevailing attitude behind colonialism was that of the white man's burden, in Rudyard Kipling's phrase, that it was the moral duty of Europeans to civilize other nations. Thus, the British saw their colonial rule over India as being for the Indians' own good. Forster himself was British, but in the novel he is very critical of colonialism. He never goes so far as to advocate outright Indian rebellion, but he does show how the colonial system is inherently flawed. Forster portrays most of the British men working in India as at least well-meaning, although condescending and unoriginal, but their positions in the colonial system always push them towards becoming racist and harmful figures. This is played out most explicitly in the development of Ronnie's character. The British women, apart from Mrs. Moore and Adela, often seem less sympathetic than the men, to the point that even Thornton blames their presence for the tensions with the Indians. The women don't have the daily labor and interactions with Indians that the men do, but they are generally more racially hateful and condescending, and perhaps this is because they are usually isolated from actual Indian society. Forster also shows how the colonial system makes the Indians hate and sometimes condescend to the British. The colonialists are by necessity in the role of oppressor, no matter how individually kind or open-minded they might be. This is shown in the changes to Aziz's character throughout the novel, as he goes from laughing at and befriending the English to actively hating them. Racial and cultural traumas. The novel socially and psychologically explores the unhealthy dimensions of the colonizer-colonized relationships, the disgusting attitudes of the English expatriates, as well as the hatred of the Indians as the primary foundations of the racial tension between the two races. The antagonistic relationships between the two extreme communities made the social life in India unbearable and miserable. The miserable situation in colonized India deteriorated due to the violations of the values and rights of the indigenous Indians. The average Indian individual seems to consider mistrust and suspicion as his or her best guide. However, Indian citizens are exploited by the colonizers' rude demeanors and racial, condescending, and frustrating attitude, which eat into the vitals of the Indian community. In A Passage to India, E.M. Forster highlights these biased and prejudiced racial attitudes. This racial tension in the colonized Indian society can be condensed by adopting a sensible attitude based on adopting human values such as interracial love, peace, harmony, and understanding. It delineates how racism and its different multiple manifestations have an effect on the relationships between the characters of different races. Forster, furthermore, underscores various human values such as interracial tolerance, love, and understanding. The violations of these values, however, is considered as the root cause of the racial tensions in the British Raj. Forster channels his biting satire and harsh criticism against the British rulers due to their unbearable racist discriminations against indigenous natives. He therefore critically highlights race relations and the traumatic effects of the British colonization. I sign off for now with the promise to return with more informative and interesting exposures.